He did. He did.
I call BS right now.
No, he absolutely did. And Hang has, grasped us, and he's like, yes, definitely. We have got picks, by the way, but
Such
it's
a
true, guys.
typical sporting term. Like, there's no way.
No, a MIDI. And if people aren't all saying it, eventually, okay, so we're trying to get people to play, and you're trying to like pioneer the scale bearer and make sure that everyone's in the world is playing scale bearer.
Hit a bully.
I'm going to bully people into using MIDI.
No.
MIDI's a good term, and I've taken it. I've absorbed
If
that.
that, if that gets built into QC, like when you hit mid-air, it just goes MIDI.
I think that would be brilliant.
No,
I would like make my life. I could die happy.
John, I would uninstall your game.
I would install it on like 2 more computers. So it's like I'll counter it, just install on more computers. It's like for every like animal a vegetarian doesn't eat, you have to eat 3. So like you. What? So it's that same kind of logic. No, never mind.
Sometimes words come out your mouth, and I don't think your brain's caught up to what you thought you were saying.
We saw pics, by the way. I saw a couple.
I didn't see the pics.
I'm going to move us back to topic.
Okay.
Slowly. We did see some pics. I believe there were some Sorlags, Nixes, and Anarchies. That's what I managed to assess after that. A good MIDI conversation. So unfortunately, I can't see chat, but I'd be really curious how many of you like and dislike MIDI. And if you dislike it, then you're wrong. It's just wrong. That's it. It's completely one-sided. Guys, we're getting into this. It's the lower bracket semi-finals for the qualifier of the Dreamhack Invitational. Dreamhack Winter.
The best name for a tournament
Butchered
ever.
That one really hard. I'm terribly sorry, production. We're on ZenAku to begin with. Whoever wins this game will move over to a qualification match, John versus Steve. So definitely a big match to be looking at the moment. And
well, after watching Steve play, I would actually favour, from what I've seen, ZenAku. I feel that their styles contrast sufficiently. But also, I mean, FraZe, we haven't seen any of FraZe today, but he's definitely got the capability to win as well.
That's true. I mean, I'm only hearing what's been sort of going on from the community people down in the region. They say that it should definitely be Stige and Astro Boy going through. But I don't think you're wrong. Whoa, that follow-up rail from FraZe. Fair enough. Well played, sir. And he has got a monster stack at the moment on Sorlag.
He has, but he is coming up against a Sorlag with a decent stack in himself, as the one thing that FraZe has at the moment is a rocket launcher, and he needs to take this to...
Hello.
He should have just jumped in with the rocket launcher.
Jumper stopped him. Scale bearer star. Algae coming out. He does make it work, but he lost the best part of like 300 collective health and armor.
Yeah, it was
a huge amount.
Completely the wrong combat choice, because as I was saying, ZenAku doesn't have a rocket launcher, so if you force him into that fight, there's very little you can do. Never mind, there is the frag. The problem is he can't commit. Well, great play by ZenAku. That is the power of timing.
No, you're not wrong at all. But yes.
What?
What I liked from FraZe just then, though, is that how careful he was. Oh, this is going to be another nice little move for FraZe, actually, and it secured himself the first time. Well, I like what he did with the Sorlag, looking at the Mega. He didn't want to pounce on it. He gave himself a defensive position. But then he saw that it wasn't coming over, and it's like, oh, well, it looks safe, and he kind of slowly tiptoed over to it. And bam! That's when the Ghost Walk just slapped on the face.
Wow, your analysis is incredible.
That's what I do, man. That's what I do. We got FraZe though, once again.
Oh!
There's the MIDI right there for you, FraZe. Give us one more. Not quite going to find the follow-up, but I mean, that was close to the history books. It took glory in it.
I don't think I've ever seen a double mid-air in this game.
Double MIDI? No, not me.
Can't take you seriously if you're gonna be like this.
FraZe is just trying to hold on for this heavy armor at the moment and hoping to the Lord that he's going to be giving it cleanly. Whereas we've got ZenAku on the other side. He hasn't actually gone over to the Mega just yet, but the amount of damage he's dealt. Oh, again, it's so close between them, but FraZe wins the Mega, which means he's able to defend himself a little bit off this point, but still going to be careful. LG's already been taken by ZenAku, so he's surely going to go down.
He's low, though. He has to be low.
Oh, no. Ish. Kind of, well, probably not after this heavy unless there's another really quick attack. And there is a Nyx right in front who lands a rail, actually. Another one is starting to hurt a lot. It's going to clip the lip to keep himself low and get that health bubble as quickly as possible. But still, ZenAku is going to be on the run for a little bit of time.
It's going to be the most simplest analysis I've probably ever said, but FraZe's raw aim is coming is winning him the game at the moment. They're both they're taking pretty even fights, and FraZe is just coming out on top purely because of his aim.
Something to do with Nyx right there. Again with the Ghost Walk, it did look like ZenAku was having a bit of a hard time for a moment.
Yeah, ZenAku's internet does not seem the most stable.
Yeah.
It hasn't been massively impactful. I think he was dead regardless of that.
Yeah, he was down in the
Looks like
the lower corners anyway. I
I
think he's moving around. He's over at the armor, but he's taking a lot of damage, and FraZe is just going to land rockets after rocket after rocket. So Ruins is definitely looking like a good pick. Well, a good map for FraZe. With the 2-0 going, he's definitely seeing him getting this map under the belt anytime soon, unless ZenAku is able to come back.
Yeah,
do something remarkable.
There are two things ZenAku can do. I would say keep away from lightning gun fights. So either do that by trying to keep FraZe at range, or playing in a more defensive aspect in the corridors. And that's something that's slightly difficult in Ruins, but still entirely possible. So you can keep down by the lightning gun when you're not really sure where they are. You can kind of keep on the top level between the mega kind of entrance as well. So try and keep out of these open spaces where FraZe can push in aggressively.
FraZe sort of forced to be reckoned with on the map now. Got all the important weapons for himself. And I think he would have been heard stepping over there, so ZenAku's kind of just blitzing around the outside. Spot each other with the rail. No damage exchange whatsoever, but I think ZenAku won't mind that for the time being.
Yeah, and it's ouch. ZenAku slightly trying to do what we were talking about in that, trying to just keep away from FraZe, but also FraZe respecting that. As long as ZenAku's not in an exposed position, FraZe is quite happy to sit back and try and trade as well. So good response from FraZe at that.
Yeah, ZenAku just fled to get himself that mega as soon as possible. These little rails, just bits of damage that FraZe is doing is keeping ZenAku at bay, and if FraZe is able to close the gap a little bit, then I can't see why he won't get first frag of this round.
Yeah, he's just hitting more in these trades, and when you have a stack advantage as well, that's painful territory.
So he's got overstacked armor. Mega is going to be taken immediately by ZenAku. He's trying to keep himself on at least one of the major items each rotation. But he has to do kind of laps of the map in order to get himself these smaller armors, as that consistent damage from FraZe is slowly wearing him down. And if they keep spinning that constant movement from Anarchy, you expect that sooner or later he's just going to walk into FraZe, and it's not going to look pretty.
Just getting out with 1 HP must be.
Yeah, as good as HP essentially. A little bit of defense. Again, picking up the mega, and that being the main reason he would have survived just then, because he was so wounded previously. And FraZe, his stack's been wearing down a little bit, but he still doesn't look bad. There's just a huge pool as a for Sorlag. Okay. Just dive onto LG. That'll do the job.
Yeah, he's doing just enough to keep ZenAku at bay without pushing in.
That was some very good early damage from ZenAku. Just then we're going to get the Acid Spit that does nothing for FraZe, and he should go down in a moment. Looking at the last couple of blasts of the lightning gun. There we go. ZenAku does finally get rid of the Sorlag. And I don't think he'll be too upset with that. Get rid of FraZe's Sorlag. It might have cost him a frag on his Anarchy, but at this stage, you just need to start getting those lives away from FraZe, because you're so far out of this map already. Whoa. A full direct descent. We are getting the Ghost Walk, but that rocket just floats past him. Armor's up, and ZenAku is going to be able to start building on that stack.
And what FraZe is doing, even though he hasn't been on the back foot that much, is he's not letting ZenAku settle. As we've seen, he's dropping down, he's getting in the face at all of these items, charging in with a couple of pot shots when he knows that ZenAku can't really retaliate, and that's one of the key characteristics we didn't see from Python or Steed, really. So he's just making sure that ZenAku never gets comfortable, never gets a really strong track, while saying that he's got a stacky now.
Don't even try. You can't innovate like FraZe can. FraZe is so weak though at the moment. The Ghost Walk's gone. Yeah, that's the squeaky bum time for him. He needs to kind of get some hourglasses, but not in an obvious route. I think ZenAku's his tracking skills.
This is one of the problems with the Knicks is when you don't have the Ghost Walk up. It's pretty dangerous to be anywhere on the map.
Anywhere.
So exactly. So
to exist.
You have to let your opponent have free reign, and then now the saw lag is.
Yeah. And sure, you've got the Ghost Walk up now, but if ZenAku chases well, then you're probably going to be forced to use it again in just a moment.
He's used it.
Did he?
No, I saw the smoke.
He just got away in time or out of line of sight. He could have taken like a rail and then afforded to use it.
It looked like the smoke popped, but I must rerun. We've got 9 seconds anyway.
And we're going to get the sudden death though, it looks like, so next frag is going to pick the round. And ZenAku, I think as long as he plays stable, doesn't get too impatient, I don't see why he can't take it. FraZe is so weak, he can't take the Mega at all. He's just picking up the smallest resources there are on the map. It just feels like a matter of moments, and there it is. FraZe goes down, and that's finally going to be around for ZenAku.
So FraZe there had no idea when the heavy was. So he presumed that ZenAku was going to dive back down onto the heavy, but it was still 10 seconds away, and ZenAku knew that's a double back, and that's exactly why he caught FraZe.
It's going to be a bit of a relief for ZenAku not to face the sweep before going into the next map, so it's got a chance really to even things up a little bit. Got a rail from FraZe. Sorlag versus Sorlag at the moment, and it's been so much damage from FraZe.
Oh. FraZe must be better that last rocket hit. Yeah, he is.
20 health. I thought it was actually more of a convincing fight because FraZe got such a good sort of start to it. ZenAku almost brought it back just then. We've got big items are spawning. Mega's going to be taken, and I think that's going to be ZenAku eventually heading down to the armor. 3 seconds split between the items shouldn't be much significance. Although it is Mega before Heavy, so if you're playing on a quick champion, you can take that Mega and you can still get eyes on the Heavy before it spawns.
Exactly, and that's very important that there is a little bit of split. And if you do enough to blow them off, there is a very easy chance, just like now actually, that FraZe should be able to pick up both.
We'll see. He's late getting to the Mega to begin with, but the route that's been taken by ZenAku, I mean, that was just...
That was crazy.
My analysis is it wasn't a good idea.
It was craziness.
Yeah, definitely shouldn't have been there, but you know, maybe that a small delay is what fucked with his mind a little bit. He's just needing one more frag. Set himself up for map number 2. ZenAku standing still after that little moment. And did not look good for him.
Good game anyway.
I think ZenAku definitely being cursed a little bit by his own internet issues, but he's going to be picking a Corrupted Keep, it looks like.
Interesting.
So
yeah, I mean, ZenAku's rail has probably been one of the weaker points for me. He might pick out the Scale Bearer actually.
Yes, I think Scale Bearer is definitely a pick you can bring out on Corrupted Keep.
It's one of my favourites when I was picking the Scale Bearer to use him on. It can be difficult because if you're weak as that type of champion, getting around restack up is very slow and you can be exploited. But at the same time, if you can maintain a decent stack, it's very strong because there are a lot of powerful positions to take.
There are a lot of people who still like to follow the sort of the Razier and Victor example of Anarchy, Sorlag, +1. So you do. I think it will probably. I won't be surprised if we see a lot of that.
Yeah.
Still, there's been quite a trend among quite a few of the Australian players so far.
Yes, true.
But it depends, what they want to put that in combination with. I see a lot of Doomslayer going on in Europe at the moment.
Doomslayer is pretty strong in this.
Even we get a Galena, which is something that you have to be wary of if you're playing in Anarchy.
Yeah, for sure.
Because all of a sudden your speed is limited unless you start mind sweeping those totems and getting them off the map, because that can impact your stack such a huge amount.
Galena's one of those champions that's underused, but I think it takes an exceptionally good jeweler to use her well because of the fact that you have no get-out clause in terms of your ability or your movement. Your speed's relatively standard, your stack is relatively standard. So to play her well, you need to be on the ball. But if you can do that, you can use the totems to really great effects. Yeah,
I'd love to see some Galena action. What I was seeing from all these top guys down there, it doesn't seem like that's really in their meta at the moment. I don't know if something that would maybe change in practice and over time, because we're still kind of in that period after the patch where people are still developing their own strategies a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think some of them are feeling that, okay, maybe not enough has changed that I've got to totally revamp my game. But I think, I know I refer to this sort of European scene quite a lot, but it's obviously what we're going to be knowing in our part of the world. But there's definitely a lot of practice of saying, oh, what's the next flavor of the month? What should we get on? What is going to be the next thing that we can really almost exploit in that kind of sense to make use of, even though things seem to be really quite balanced at the moment. At the moment, we've got ZenAku picking we've got Solak from both players. We've got a Slash and an Anarchy versus an Anarchy and a Nyx.
Slash.
Okay, that's not a common pick on Corrupted Key.
I think it's very difficult to use on Corrupted Key, but ZenAku's the one that's picked the map and the champion. I'm bemused because it's one of those. It's difficult to get too much speed up, but
there's a lot of little bumps, and little steps and things like that.
They really mess with your movement. So
yeah, there are hiccups where it does create complications. So I'm not sure if I'm convinced just yet, but we also know that he's a guy who does like to experiment and play around with his own thing. So if he's developed any kind of strategy or style, then we'll find out in a few moments. But he's altogether, I think he's been fairly stable. But I was quite surprised to see FraZe. FraZe is someone who I predicted to be at a final anyway. But then I was told, oh, he's not someone, you shouldn't be worrying about him. Just worry about Stege and Astro Boy. Yeah. Those are the guys. But I think at the moment, there might be a threat to Stege.
I think so. FraZe looked strong. I mean, he was hitting a lot, and that's when no matter how you play, if you're hitting a lot, it's pretty simple as an FPS. Like if you get to hit more than your opponent, you've always got a really great chance. So the raw mechanical skill alone keeps him in the game. Definitely. So if he can just hone up the basic style and the way in which great champions need to be played, and he seems to be doing that pretty well. So he's definitely. I don't see why he wouldn't put up a good fight.
We have started map 2, of course, guys, right in front of us. But to follow on that point, FraZe is also someone down in that region who's one of the most experienced at playing these really kind of high-stake games where there's a lot on the line. You're getting your trip down to the Quake Champions Invitational at Dreamhack Winter. Good point. He's always going to be a threat in that instance. Got quite a tight fight down there by the Mega. Eventually breaking away, trying to meet each other over at the heavy, and ZenAku will actually take out FraZe just then. FraZe really putting himself out there just a bit too much on that item, and ZenAku hopefully will be able to collect himself in a moment and get away. He will survive and live through another day.
Yeah, if he had died there, that's pretty frustrating when your ISP is causing you problems, but when it's out of your control, I mean, what can you do?
Yeah. Oh, that rocket from FraZe, managing to take that frag down. That item wasn't up for a couple of moments, and maybe a little bit risky for ZenAku to head it back into that area. Although, with the Solak straight away.
He just hit a couple more clicks, he could have killed FraZe there, even though the tick damage is reduced, because whenever the Ghost Walk's not up, then that spit suddenly becomes a lot more powerful.
There it is, attack onto the Mega. It's going to be ZenAku who's not able to get it in the end, and FraZe, he will take the frag in the end, so only one champion remains for ZenAku.
Speed!
Wow, okay. And curious to see what kind of effect ZenAku will have with this Ash, is what we talked about before the map started, that
the only thing I
uncharacteristic.
Will say is, thinking about it a bit more, is the ability in the Plasma Trail could be quite powerful on this map, because it is relatively small and enclosed. There's a lot of doorways and choke points that you can fill up with it. I mean, we haven't seen it yet, so.
Well, it's worth putting out there, though. Heavy's up. It was about 7 or 8 seconds behind the Mega, so ZenAku wasn't able to really hold on there himself. Trying to get a bit of damage going and put some pressure on, and at least keep that knowledge of when the item's up. We've got over 10 seconds between the 2 items now, so we could see kind of like extremes in terms of who's able to pick up the next control of 2 items.
Yeah, it is a bit easier on this map to split the items, and when it does happen, it becomes quite a challenge because you're easy to track down if you don't have a stack.
I was going to get that. Well, that was almost going to be a telefrag on the exit just then. A bit of lightning gun damage, and ZenAku's not able to move away, and that looked like I don't want to make the assumption because I didn't see it from his point of view, but I think he got caught on the step and maybe wanted to slide away.
With the slash pick so far.
Yeah, it's not done much for him just yet, but I'll reserve judgment till the end of the map at least, and maybe we can see it from his perspective in the later round. FraZe to start with, just going to get the acid out, but a little biddy just there for ZenAku. Yep, that's it. It's going to pick him up the first frag. Did step in the acid split, but looks like he's recovering quite nicely. Danger of getting more middies here.
Yeah, I mean, ZenAku not giving middies two cares in the world. Flying around the map past rockets.
Oh, hopefully for ZenAku, he's going to be able to rebuild his self-esteem on this map and secure a round. Because he did get some early success in round 1. Have to build on that. Armor's up. He's got good ammunition.
Good split as well on the item.
And ammo is definitely something worth talking about sometime, but we've got a Ghost Walk forced out. Is he going to be able to find him straight away? They might rendezvous by the rockets, and still with a bit of stack to go, he will push in and get himself his frag.
So when the situation has a 10-second split on this particular map, this is what you have to do. Try, when you're on the offense, try and take the higher ground because that's the most vulnerable, and then you can bully your opponent off. But if you're on a defense, you have to try and stay in one of the side areas. Even if you have to let them get the red or the heavy, should I say, that is quite easy to do a lot of damage when they're on the retreat. So it's about when they're picking up the items.
Yeah. Round 3. Well played to ZenAku for making that success happen with Anarchy. It's definitely a strong champion we've seen from him. A bit of follow-up pressure, and in the end he is going to actually force out the injection. He did have a couple of health bubbles he could have gone to. He elected not to work just with that.
Yeah, I would always prefer, obviously, to pick up the health.
All that pressure.
Then he would have had an injection and might have got away.
He turned around, and I think he lost the... Well, if he was aiming for the exit to sort of move backwards through, it was far gone by that point. It was a great little LG push from FraZe.
There's no VOO when it comes to backwards movement.
Yeah, what very, very few people are. So I can forgive people for getting it wrong. There's not too many players we see that are able to get the backwards movement going. I know VOO's quite modest about it, but it's a nice little ability to have with that champion. And worth practicing.
Yeah.
FraZe no armor at the moment, trying to get some long-range damage in.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Wow.
Dealing damage when your opponent is picking up the items is critical. Especially if you get super lucky like that and you're not over the top.
Well, that was the armor taken, but with that direct land as well, the stacks aren't too different for each other just there. But after that little bit of extra pressure, stay the same, I guess.
Nice use of the spam here. I think he's done like 150 damage since he spawned. It's interesting.
It's been very good. Like FraZe is going to have to get out of the way. If he can buy himself a bit of time here on the Mega,
he will get armor. Yeah, that's exactly what he was doing.
Got a couple of health bubbles beside him. Ammo on the weapons absolutely fine. Of course, starting ammo on weapons has changed since the last update, so you might see people taking into account routes for ammo crates and weapons a lot more. Just a small subtlety that was very impactful.
What ZenAku's doing is really great in that he's non-stop spamming every possible corridor that FraZe can come from, and that so if FraZe wants to push in any capacity, he's going to take damage. And this is why FraZe has not even been able to get full working stack yet, because ZenAku's just always in his face.
Whoa, bits of damage. Both players are so weak. 6 health left for FraZe. Not a heap more left for ZenAku. Armor will be taken, but
nice.
Unbelievable little push from him there. That was ballsy from ZenAku.
Yeah, I was about to say, that was confident.
But that's, I don't know, that's just such a sort of great read to have on your opponent. And I think he knew, are you sure you'll take armor, but you're still going to have so little health. Just
it's one of those things where if he missed the rocket, he was dead.
Yeah.
It was no other way to say it.
And his nail work has been amazing as well. He's even going to find another frag and tie up the champion score here on this critical round. If he's able to win this, he puts himself onto map point. And that's going to be important to ease his mind a little bit. And FraZe, I think he walks into that room and immediately regrets it. He's going to have to back out there. ZenAku's not that weak that you can just suddenly charge in.
Nice.
Mega up, going to be taken.
And it's got his injection, so it's not the end of the world.
He's used it.
I just used it. Oh, it didn't update on the screen then.
So it had, because when the speed effect is in course, it doesn't then yet go onto that cooldown. So a little bit of speed coming outside. The rockets are quite good though from FraZe. He's keeping himself intact with this defensive play. Definitely see that ZenAku's the one who feels like he's earned a frag with his control and his strong plays.
But yeah, but it's those positions where you're most likely to lose it, when you feel that you've done all the hard work, and as soon as you get impatient, that's when it costs you.
Takes him back off those 225s by the heavy machine gun.
Now FraZe has got the initiative and the speed, and when that's the case, I would definitely say it's his time to push in. This is why ZenAku's taking the low road to keep out of sight.
I mean, he's trying to be sneaky with the routes that he's taken and get anything that he can. I don't think ZenAku expects to have a major item yet.
But now he's got a very decent base there. FraZe needs to be careful.
FraZe is in, and actually, because he pushes around that side, he decides he's going to get himself onto the heavy armor. And I think FraZe maybe lost the opportunity for that control.
Nice.
Oh, LG to follow up as well. ZenAku keeps himself in the series quite nicely and puts himself onto map point over here. So well played from him. I think it could have changed a little bit at the end. ZenAku didn't realize that FraZe was over there, but because FraZe kept pushing in, he wasn't able to continue that control.
No, that's it.
Extra armor. It means so much.
It really does. That's the problem. FraZe, for some reason, didn't know where FraZe was, but the double back at the end was excellent. FraZe did not expect it in the slightest.
A little bit of pressure from FraZe. Or we're going to have the injection surely used. Decent rocket damage. And fair enough, he's not using it, and he's keeping it for another day.
Well, it cost him last round in their use it too early, so I'm a fan of holding on to it.
Definitely. Till the absolute last moment. But again, he's pushing a little bit too far, and he's going to have to break away. Mega will do him just fine. He's trying to break away. 18 health to go. FraZe giving him a little bit of space, and he is going to use the injection this time. And it'll probably be great.
Respect for FraZe for not killing him, if that was what his intention.
Yeah. ZenAku, 5 seconds until the armor's up. FraZe not going to give him the space of that. He wants it for himself, it seems.
Okay. That's fine.
Mega 2, and he's going to speed back for that also. ZenAku's getting nothing, really.
Yeah, he's not having the best reads at the moment. FraZe is not really doing anything out of the ordinary, but somehow he's catching ZenAku off guard a lot.
That was good. He got caught on a little lip of that wall for a moment, and that almost cost him his life. There was 22, 23 health left. Armor up. Can he slow down FraZe at all? A bit of LG. Buy himself the Mega. It's up in another second. He's done it. He's managed to take it, and he gets the frag afterwards. That was a very thin line between success and failure just then, but nicely done, ZenAku.
He did just enough to delay FraZe, did just enough damage on the entry to allow him to push in. If he didn't get any damage, there was no way he could do it. So that was, yeah, that's what you call good defensive play.
Calculated.
I would say that.
They say, yeah, that was really nicely done. And FraZe did take a fair bit of damage. He's done an offensive.
Oh,
okay.
Nice.
Do you know what that was?
It's a mid-air rocket.
I mean, close but true still.
You're not catching me saying that.
One day it will happen, and you'll be proud. You'll be happy. It'll bring great delight to your family. Now, FraZe getting a bit of damage here on the teleporter exit. Eventually backing off to claim what's his and be able to put a bit more pressure on the upcoming Mega that will spawn. There it is, spotted on the side. There it is, buys full space. Now he wants to do something with that overstack he's got. He's only going to have it for a limited period of time. Well, that health, the armor overstack's already gone, and it's not going to be 10 seconds till the rest of his health's gone too.
But ZenAku's doing a really great job because he is making sure that he is the one controlling the mid-ground on the defensive, and that's what you see. He has the angles, and that's stopping FraZe from pushing in when he wants to freely. And if he's going to push in, he's taking a lot of damage. So it's defensive, but in an aggressive position, if that makes sense. And that's why he's just bought himself the Mega.
I feel like at some point, if FraZe wants to push, and he might have to play with the Ghost Walk somehow.
Yeah.
It's always something you've got to be so careful with, because you obviously won't have it then for a defensive use.
It's true, but I am, again, so I'm a huge fan of using it and playing to win rather than playing not to lose. Obviously, it's a really effective tool to get out, but you watch players like Avec who consistently use it and catch people off guard. It wins you games.
Ghost Walk going to need to be used, surely. FraZe looks like he's struggling on the edge there. And Ghost Walk does eventually come out from the two of them. That armor is actually not going to be up yet, not for a fair amount of time. Quite a while, actually. There's another 5 seconds or so. And ZenAku quite comfortably going to get that frag in the end.
Yep. But it was, again, respect coming out from ZenAku for not killing FraZe in the first instance. I mean, FraZe should have just backed off. That's stupid. There you go.
I can't let him fall in front of him.
And it seems that he is now slightly annoyed, I think, pushing in so...
He's got 20 seconds to do something with the Solag, which won't allow him to get onto the heavy. I mean, he could try going to Mega, but I don't think he's going to get any success with that. Pushes into ZenAku, and that is going to give us the 3-1, which will also get us over to a tiebreaker map. So more Quake champions between ZenAku and FraZe. And got any favorites now after we've seen these two maps? Which have been a bit more impressive?
I think FraZe has been playing largely the better Quake, but does he have it mentally?
Yeah. I guess time will tell.
I mean, for the beginning part of that map in particular, FraZe, I definitely thought was playing better, but then we saw a good change from ZenAku, and he began to take those more aggressive positions on the defense and kept FraZe at base, even though he couldn't impose himself on the map as well. So FraZe had control for longer periods of time. Yeah. ZenAku was playing around that very good, and when he got control, the round was over pretty quick. So FraZe's out of control play didn't seem to be as polished.
Yeah, it did look almost at the beginning that ZenAku was going to be put on a 2-0 as well.
Yeah, it was very quick.
To be really like completely off the series. But no, fair play to ZenAku for making that work for him, and definitely showing that he's not to be messed with down there. But as I said already in the past in the show, the top 4 players at the moment in this bracket are all on the same team on the duel. I wonder if that's also going to reflect on the sacrifice qualifiers when they get around to doing that. But I'm really keen to see what they would be like playing with each other as well, and if it's not just about the duel. We see you put lots of duelers on the team in Sacrifice on Europe side, and it's like can be all right. It's touch and go. Yeah, how it works.
But yeah, I mean it depends on their team background.
Yeah.
So the old not too fast, obviously, were consistent or predominantly duelers, and yet they've got hugely talented team background as well. So
yeah,
it depends. I honestly have no idea how effective they can play together.
No, it's really really.
But I think if you just take the raw skill against the raw skill of the rest of the region, they're obviously going to come out on top, or should do. Whether that translates to anything else, I don't know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, we've got the tiebreaker map, which is going to be Blood Run. Anarchy for ZenAku to start with. We've got the Solag for FraZe.
We're going to see a full rush.
That's all you want. We got.
Come on, last pick. Yes!
Yeah, that's it. And clutch. That's it. All right, Craze.
Craze.
Solag, Nyx, and Clutch for FraZe.
Oh, yeah. Done. I'm done. I've seen it. Yeah. We've got a Clutch versus a
Clutch is still kind of like the murmurs of Clutch in the background in the scene at the moment. It does happen from time to time.
Some people find him strong.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure.
Some people are kind of like practice their way out of using Clutch.
I mean, the movement alone is really powerful, but
there's 7
he has a lot of
hourglasses that can be taken on Blood Run, which isn't the most.
It's kind of similar in a way to Galena in that Clutch is really strong, but as soon as that shield is out, it was down, and you haven't killed someone, for instance, you have to then play exceptionally well to keep out of sight. So it's almost that you have to back off from the items until that shield's back up. Yeah, as long as you can play the Clutch right, I definitely think has a good place.
There are corners on Blood Run as well where you can hide behind, you can play with those defensive rockets, so on and so forth.
The problem is you're so used to playing in a certain way that if you introduce that with the Clutch, you're still quite a big, fat, easy target.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We are going to be getting Solak versus Solak, though, at the beginning of this tiebreaker map. The winner of this map will be going versus Steve in a qualification game for the Quake Champions Invitational at Dreamhack Winter.
Oh, you nailed it this time.
That's it. They'll be proud of me.
That's I'm lucky anyway.
Shut up. Huge stack going there for ZenAku at the moment. FraZe not blessed with the same amount of armor. And with the higher ground, though, he can really decide how much damage he takes and maybe even land some damage himself. That armor's going to be staring. He's actually going to drop. The Mega's up right behind. He's barely any health to work with before he takes the Mega, but we've got the armor up, which ZenAku might struggle to pick. But he's not available anymore. A little bit of extra damage, but follow through here from FraZe.
Oh, that's crazy.
Christ. FraZe kind of just walked into those rockets. I could see what FraZe was trying to do, though, and thought that maybe with his aggression, knew that an item hadn't been taken. But he maybe hesitated for a moment.
Yeah, I liked the initial play and dropping for the Mega because he did sufficient damage to force ZenAku to wait and then surprised him, but just accept your losses sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. But we've got a frag in return. Just that. FraZe does need a hint more health. Scalebearer.
Yeah.
You're pretty excited again.
Yeah, warming up now.
And definitely someone you have to respect when you're playing as the next. Obviously, you can ghost walk through bull rushes, and things like that. Yeah, exactly. Just play through it. Does get a tiny bit of damage off, and you know, even though there's a 50% damage absorption, landing rails and stuff is still relatively significant.
Yeah, no, I mean every little helps, Asta says, but.
That's true. Or he's caught himself out a little bit over there. ZenAku in trouble on the Scalebearer. And
nice,
got the ghost walk. This has got to be a frag, surely. And does find it. It was a bit too far around the corner, but takes no extra damage.
Sometimes the weapon choice of players confuses me, particularly FraZe.
No way.
Oh.
No way does he manage to do that with the pummel. But you know what we see? We see the clutch come out from FraZe.
Clutch versus Anarchy, I think I have to favour Anarchy in this match.
Really?
Yeah.
It's tough because there's only one champion to go against. If you can get yourself on the rockets, and if Anarchy just puts himself a bit out of position, it can change a bit. Oof. Nice little rocket there.
Still doesn't really dent Clutch though, does it? Stack's still bigger than Anarchy.
I mean, but there'll be sort of scratches on the armor at this point. And at this stage, with those 7s coming out too, FraZe is definitely going to be picking up some of the health levels on the side. Has got the shield and he's taking the shield out.
They both use their abilities though, so kind of an evenish trade. I definitely think Clutch's is slightly more impactful though.
Yeah, he needs some health at the moment. ZenAku's definitely going to be thinking about, alright, how can I impose myself onto FraZe?
But this is good. This is what I was talking about when that shield isn't up. Don't be afraid to not commit to anything. You're not powerful without it, really.
Unless for some reason your opponent's weak or you get that injury damage.
Yeah, I mean, there's always situations that cause you to move out, but until it is back up, unless those situations arise, it's just pointless. You're just a fat duck walking around the map.
Oh no, he's a fat duck with a shield available to him.
Now he is.
Yeah, so now he can do whatever the hell he likes.
Reinforced armoured duck.
And ZenAku's going to have to pay respect to those possibilities. We've got major items up.
We can see the importance of this, though, that both players understanding the scale of this map and that every round is highly important.
Over 4 minutes through on this one. Time not a factor anymore, though. The next frag's going to be the round for whichever player.
This is a huge opportunity now for ZenAku. After this Mega, wait for the Mega.
Or he has forced to use the injection. He was so close to getting a kill.
This is fine. Now he could definitely push in. There's literally nothing FraZe can do if he pushes in and takes a good shot.
He's moving around the map a little bit. We have got the armor up. FraZe surely won't risk it. He's alerted ZenAku of his presence by just a little bit of spam, which does cause some hesitations.
But that's enough. That's what I mean. The difference is that FraZe try to do damage without committing. Even the fact that he didn't hit anything slowed ZenAku down by 1 or 2 seconds, and that sometimes is enough in Quake. So the fact that he made an effort to have a presence in the area is enough. And that caused him to enough time to get his shield back up.
Oh, what a shot just then. Does he want to follow up? He just needs to hit one good rocket and he could get the frag on ZenAku. But he was on about 5, 10 health himself. LG out, and that is going to be ZenAku picking up the round.
So that was the biggest flaw with Clutch, as I said. As soon as that shield's popped, and it was popped in situations that he didn't want to use it in. So there was a good like 2 minutes plus in that game where he had no option except to hide. And when you're doing that, you're again giving your opponent complete free reign of the map. And this is why I said I favoured the Anarchy, because he was able to run around, force out the shield and get away. Nice.
Whoa. Close range bull rush use for just a moment, but you can see with the amount of health that FraZe has left, it didn't do a whole lot of damage. Now ZenAku's got 29 health to go, and he's just got to, if he can avoid a rail, he can't. All he needed is that one rail to miss, and he could walk through the teleporter on the reload, but it was not to be. Sorlag versus Sorlag now. And,
Scale Bearer.
You want to skip? No, not yet. Maybe later on.
I feel like cooling.
Galebearer's gone. You have to pull yourself off a little bit here.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. I mean, I'm with you. I'm with you all the way, but we're not blessed with it anymore.
Never mind.
Do you want like someone to sort of make a picture of Scalebearer with your face on it? Is that what you want a little sort of portrait of that in your room?
Tattoo.
Tattoo? Like on your forehead. Got a acid spit coming out. Didn't seem to do anything at all. Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Sorlag versus Sorlag, it's very difficult to actually use it to any real effect.
Gotta get those direct hits going.
Exactly.
And that would be it as far as ability impact. Little rocket coming through. Got a fair amount of nail gun blasts as well to be concerned about. Dropping with the LG. Nail guns pointing in the wrong direction. Maybe ZenAku having another little attack just then. Replay. And yeah. ZenAku definitely proved that he was struggling just then. He is going to be grabbing himself the heavy. Does lose all the stacks straight away, but you know, silver lining, he denies it from FraZe.
Yeah, there's always something, I guess.
Something to be positive about. Apart from the fact there's no Scalebearer for you, but...
Yeah, well, there's always one more round.
We've still got at least 2 more. At least 1 more guaranteed.
Exactly. Nice, I like that.
Misses out, actually, unfortunately, on the acid spit. Getting a bit of that extra feature would have helped him quite a bit. Nail gun being fairly effective, and the range on the LG doesn't allow FraZe to finish off that frag. Still a fair amount of time until the Mega's up, and ZenAku's just floating around the corners of Blood Run, trying to recuperate.
Yeah, and FraZe has done a nice job in having a solid split on the items, a good 15 seconds, which means that gives him a good amount of time outside of that to really bully the Anarchy around.
So much nail gun work ZenAku's doing. Oh my god, lands one direct acid spit of it. 75 damage rocket as well. A bit of extra damage. He walks into the center of that room, and that's the death trap just there. You do not want to be there. If your enemy, you know your enemy's around the corner.
Prepare to fight.
You're in no man's land. That small armor is just a death trap.
It was clever by FraZe because ZenAku knew FraZe was stacked, and the fact that he didn't push in made ZenAku think that he had backed off. So it was that second or 2 patience from FraZe was just enough again.
Well, rails there, follow up from FraZe. Made ZenAku pretty damn weak off of that. And at the moment, FraZe is surely going to look for a way to finish things off. Fairly fast. I'm not sure if ZenAku has the lightning gun or not, but would definitely be wise for FraZe to think about denying that. He's chasing directly. It's going to let ZenAku get onto that weapon now.
Yeah, I'm personally again, I'm a fan that with weapon protection or control, and that's something we haven't seen a lot from this tier.
Yeah.
But obviously the high caliber players do it a lot, and I think it's an underused tactic again.
Especially lightning gun is so important at the moment in the game. I mean, it's such an effective weapon.
If you know your opponent hasn't got something, it makes sense to defend it.
Rocket, first one misses. He does get a good little follow-up and control over that Mega, so ZenAku kind of just walks in full of confidence and walks out with his tail between his legs.
But he's still very healthy, despite that.
Oh, this is a nail guard. Very optimistic play. FraZe easily going to be taking him out of the LG. And probably shouldn't have been that close to the entrance just then. Trying to get something done with Anarchy, but he looks moments away from death. Oh, on the splash damage. While ZenAku, I think, was having a bit of a lag out or something.
ZenAku has changed his pickup for this every round, I think. Last round he began with the scale bearer. This round it was save till last. Best till last, of course.
Ooh, nail gun does all of a sudden hit a little bit just then. Still a couple of resources that ZenAku can work with. And he can try and make things possible. Again, I mean, I'm just finding that nail gun is now synonymous with ZenAku. The amount of spam, and look at that long range 12 damage shotgun. The Mega right next to him is going to be enough to secure that round. FraZe is on match point. He can push himself over to the final match of the day for the Australia-New Zealand qualifiers, if he can secure this.
Yep. I wouldn't count ZenAku out just yet. He has shown that he is extremely competent, but FraZe's aim is far superior. Those rails.
Almost reloading in time for another one. ZenAku, though, still managing to sustain a lot of armor, but he's just walking into rail angles, giving up free damage. It's just 4 in a row at the moment for FraZe.
Yeah, I mean, so painful.
Yeah, this. And all the health bubbles, he's now just going to wait for them to respawn so he can pick them up again. All while FraZe is just going to get the Mega. He's probably going to get himself the Heavy too. There it is, full natural stack for Solag. Not looking too bad. ZenAku is starting to rack up the stack as well. And if he can land something himself, then maybe we could see a bit of a chance building up for him in this round. But it's been all about FraZe and his rail. Something like 5 or 6 rails that we've seen him land now.
Yeah.
Back to back.
Not bad. But ZenAku again doing a fine job in that. Yeah, FraZe is hitting these rails, but they're pretty much irrelevant because he's nearly on an even stack. So he's done exactly what he needs to do in not allowing FraZe in and an opportunity to get that first frag.
I think it just depends how he's going to be changing the gears next. And he decides he wants to do the first damage. Just going in with the nail gun, but he's just not hitting much. FraZe's going to chase up. ZenAku, he's looking to try and push him back with the nail gun. There's just over 100 health for him. He could be just sitting by the buckle. No, he's not. LG on the drop. One more bolt of lightning.
Wow, that's annoying.
That was close. No.
Okay.
Okay. Fair enough. ZenAku getting himself the pummel frag. That's what you're good for, Anarchy.
Some serious style points coming up from ZenAku today.
Yeah, now the Solag's out of the map. Not bad rockets at the moment, actually, from FraZe, and ZenAku's going to have to be very careful. Land something extra himself. Rail so far missing from FraZe. There's a possibility here for ZenAku. I think getting rid of that Solag was hugely important for him. He was otherwise struggling a fair amount with him.
No, I mean, as we saw in the first round, the clutch in particular wasn't a concern. Nyx is one of those champions which is painful, but the Solag with momentum is perhaps the hardest champion in the game to play against. So, always relieving to get that off the board.
I think there's always kind of going to be space for Nyx in the meta. Like in a champion lineup, there's definitely a lot of uses to Nyx. But that's because you go from the extreme of a strong position to weak position, just like that.
Yeah, and I mean the Nyx is, again, obviously we just said very powerful. If you're hitting, it requires you to hit your shots effectively, and then you can follow up. But it's never one of those champions where you're particularly afraid against if that's. It's very hard to nail down, and that's probably the most frustrating thing. But you don't feel overly overwhelmed like you do against this all out.
Yeah. Moving away, good railing there by FraZe. Armor is going to be taken, so not going to be fully vulnerable just yet. Trying to get a little bit of a payoff up on the armor to do some damage. Oh, needs to use the injection. Has to be able to get out somehow, but can't do it. FraZe with a frag. One more. And he's going to be going through to the final match of their qualifiers of the day. And it's got no rails though, no rockets at all. And we've got a bull rush.
Hey, don't go back in.
Oh my god. Oh, he dies as well. ZenAku just doesn't have the stack. He should have seen the Ghost Walker, that he didn't have enough time to get back in. That is going to be FraZe of the last frag just then.
He thought he did. I mean,
yeah, that's got to be it. I can't see why you would do that, because it's such like a last hurrah kind of thing to do. And it would have been like, even though you can't see Nyx at that point, probably 80 or 90% of you is thinking Nyx is going to be on Mega.
Yeah, I mean, there was no other. Yeah,
maybe even 100%.
100% 0 megas as well from ZenAku on that map against 8 of FraZe.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it was, as you say, it was a last hurrah. If he had got it, then he would have got the kill. Actually, not even definitely, because he didn't have the weapons. So
it was maybe he could have even got the kill without it, but I think that would have been pushing it. I think there was like a 5%
brain lag.
Yeah, that could be it there. But you know, desperate times call for desperate measures, and he wasn't able to pull it out of the bag.
But
in the end.
As we saw at the end, FraZe's aim was incredible. Like, as in that game, he must have hit something like 8, 9 rails pretty much in a row.
Yeah.
And when that happens, there is very little for you to do as a player. ZenAku did a great job in not dying for the most part. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting going into the next match. I think from what we've seen, I would favour FraZe over Steege, but
really,
from your sources,
that's sort of I'm going off my sources, but at the same time, not ketchup and mustard though, unfortunately. But I think that because I would have banked on FraZe. I've been like, FraZe would go through first, you know.
Yeah.
He'd be through on the winners bracket, and he'd be in Sweden already.
Don't know who knocked him down,
but you know, it's something to look at on the break though. But